Okay, so now we got some interesting comments from Nelly. This should be a pretty interesting topic.
Mhm.
Nelly recently was on The Shop, LeBron James produced show on HBO, and he got into talking about his acknowledgement within the music industry or within like hip hop, and talking about how much respect he gets and where he falls within the pantheon musically. And he got into talking about how he was nominated for awards but didn't win. But some of it is because the era in which he came up was the toughest, was the hardest, the most competitive era ever when it comes to this music. So we thought that this was pretty interesting. I'm pretty sure other folks were probably going to disagree with what Nelly has to say here. But just to provide a little bit of context, this says Nelly believes his era of hip hop was the toughest. Nelly is shedding light on the challenges and fierce competition he faced during what he believes to be the toughest era in hip hop ever. In a recent appearance on the season 7 premiere of The Shop, Nelly opened up about his music career, his Grammy snub, and the intense rivalry among hip hop heavyweights during his heyday. In a promo clip shared on Instagram, Nelly reflected on his absence from the list of nominees for Best New Artist at the Grammy Awards. Despite the monumental success of his debut album, Country Grammar, which sold over 5 million copies, Nelly found himself overlooked for the prestigious accolade. His disappointment was clear. He expressed his disbelief that his album's release date in 2000 prevented him from being considered for the award in 2001. Instead, he acknowledged Alicia Keys' victory as well deserved, emphasizing her undeniable talent. However, it wasn't just Grammy snubs that defined Nelly's era in hip hop. The rapper went on to assert that the competition during this time in the industry was unparalleled. He listed off a formidable lineup of fellow artists he had to contend with, including DMX, Jay Z, Eminem, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, and Ludacris. Each of these hip hop heavyweights competed for the spotlight, making it an arduous task for Nelly to secure his place in the limelight. So here is that. Here is a little bit of what Nelly talked about.
It's one of those situations to where you would just hope that the Grammys get it together.
When you won all three of yours, did you used to go to this show all the time?
First of all, I wasn't even nominated for Best New Artist at the Grammys. Understand that. Country Grammar was 5 million, and I didn't even get nominated as Best New Artist because my album came out in 2000, so I wasn't even on the ballot. In 2001, the great, talented, well-deserving Miss Alicia Keys won.
Right.
And she should have won.
Yeah.
She should have won in 2001.
Nelly, coming from the Lou, did you ever have chip on your shoulder? Because everything was
yeah.
LA, New York. We always talk about that with the Midwest, man. Like,
goddamn right.
Yeah.
Goddamn right. But you got to understand, my era of music was the toughest era in hip hop ever. Ever. When I put out songs, I had to go against DMX,
Eminem,
Jay Z, Eminem, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, Luda.
nah.
Yeah.
All of us are fighting
Yeah.
for one spot. So from 99 to like 2008, 10, it's the hardest era ever to get records.
Units, Pimp Juice and us.
Yeah.
This guy.
That's a Jay-Z line from Excuse Me Miss. Shouts out to Cedric the Entertainer.
Mhm.
And he didn't even mention other people who were still very active during that time, but probably don't necessarily come from that generation. People like Scarface, for example. They were very active during that time, and it was just a who's who. And then you had other people coming into the game, like the Clips. Clips was pretty much in that exact time as well. So I mean, it was pretty competitive. But what do you think? What do you think about what he had to say there? You agree with what he had to say?
Yeah, I agree. I think it was just a product of the times. I don't think anything like that will ever be captured again. Not in hip hop, at least. And the reason, and then here's why. And it wasn't just because of talent or anything like that per se. I think there's talent in every generation, littered across everybody with the same level of distribution across all generations. So much like how there was phenomenal artists in the 20s, we had phenomenal artists in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So that's great. So that's who these people were. So the thing is there were these things called record labels. And so with these record labels, they had rosters. So with their rosters, they invested in certain athletes, if you will. And so these people being the Eminems, the 50 Cents, the Ja Rules, the Nellys, all right, the Jay-Z's, the whoever. And so with that, there was a lot of emphasis on rollout, debuts, press runs, the whole gambit. On top of
Yeah.
that, now that we understand now, I would say through enough conversation of artists with talking nowadays, that there was a lot of collaboration going on these albums as well. So even if it was, some people's favorite artists, they had help a part of their camp. All right. So they would put together the best songs. They would put together the hits, the whatevers. So it was a whole different industry back then, predicated towards having superstars. And then once that era that he's talking about, that honestly, that was the height of that business model. But then once that business model, once there was other ways that they could make money, these corporate, companies had, they decided to switch it. It also was a thing where there was more, independent people getting their hands on products and stuff like that. So making their own beats, having their own in-home studios and stuff like that. Around 2007, 2008, that's when I was trying to mess around with stuff. So yeah, the stuff was easily accessible. People was uploading stuff to the internet. The market changed. So the labels realized that the market was changing. People wasn't really buying into these large cash cows anymore. They was going more into the mixtapes and independent people. And then that's when streaming became a thing. And then these dinosaurs died. These people are still talented. They're still talented people in the pool now. They're just doing dumb stuff now because the dumb stuff is what they think they need to be doing. So whether I like it or not, NBA Youngboy has some level of talent if he has all of these people enamored. I don't care for it, but he's making the new wave of that stuff. And so 10 years from now, when those the kids that's loving this stuff grow up, that's going to be their 50 Cent. So so the cycle continues. It's just in a new wave. And honestly, I don't really care for the new wave, how it panned out. The whole cash cow thing was not cool too. Once you peel the veil back and see what was really going on in these shadowy things with gatekeepers and other weird stuff. All right. Allegedly. So yeah, man. So that was a interesting time. That was at the height of it. So I agree, but that was also the end of it. So what are your thoughts, sir? Do you agree with Sir Nelly here? Do you believe that was the toughest era in hip hop?
We're gonna talk about the '90s, this '90s social media trend,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like we done with the '90s, and so
Mm-hmm.
uh, I feel like that is somewhat related to this kind of topic. Music and
Mm-hmm.
sports kind of tie together in that your perspective on it is rooted almost entirely in the time in which you were born.
Correct.
So, due to the fact that I grew up during this era, I am beholden to it. And I am inclined to agree that it is the toughest era ever. Now, I'm not necessarily a purist per se, but I do fancy myself somewhat of a historian. I don't know every artist and every catalog from the generation that precedes mine, but I've dug into the crates enough throughout my life to make some sort of a roundabout comparison going from era to era. And then, of course, because I'm older and I'm still around and I still somewhat pay attention, I can compare what's going on now to what's going on previously.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring that up to say that I agree with him. And I think objectively that it was I think objectively it was the hardest, toughest, most competitive, best, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it. I do think that was when the game was at its apex. And the reason why I think that that's when the game was at its apex is because I think that during that time, it was the greatest emphasis on artist development, and artist development being the primary barometer by which to determine how successful one particular artist can be.
Mm-hmm.
All of that stuff that you referenced when you were talking a couple of minutes ago went into what I would call artist development. So, a record label poured resources into an artist that they sort of foresaw as having potential.
Mm-hmm.
So, in-house production studios, producers, engineers, um, even the journalism stuff, they'd send you on the press junket to talk about your music, all of the radio stations, Hot 97, Power 105, whatever, depending on what city you in, whatever. Um, all of these old school terms that I'm about to say, because I don't even know if this still happens, but A&Rs and all of that kind of stuff. That's why I know it's an old school term, because I don't even know if that stuff still goes on. But like,
Mhm.
this was the height of artist development, and during the height of artist development, your abilities and your talent and your charisma was a precursor to what your ceiling was in terms of your music and your earning potential. But now what we and the music often dictated what people would respond to. But now today, I think what's happened is it's flipped, and I think the people and the internet dictates the kind of music that needs to be made. So I think internet trends today largely dictate what happens with the music industry, whereas before the music itself dictated what the trend was going to be. And I think because the emphasis previously was on the artist and not on what the trend is telling the music industry to make in terms of the music,
Mhm.
artist development was at the forefront. And when artist development is the forefront, the product is a bit stronger. So when you combine the stronger product with those people, with your Jay-Z's and your Eminems and your Nas's, Outkast, Scarface, Nelly, Ludacris, Clips, all of these people coming up during this time, we ain't even bring up people like Fabulous, Jadakiss. Hell, if you even go regional, Trick Daddy, his height was during this era as well. All of these people, some of the people out west that was still popping, your Snoops, your Dre's, Dr. Dre, he put out the Chronic 2001 in 99. So I think that the game was at its stiffest, toughest, hardest, best because of the heavier emphasis on artist development. Now, no one gives a shit about artist development because what we see going on is the internet and social media and trending content dictating the kind of music that gets made. So it doesn't matter how good of an artist I am. If I have the kind of character or personality that can tap into an internet trend and create some kind of a hunky music based on what that trend is, it's going to get served up on every algorithm. I'm going to be trending. I'm going to get millions, thousands, if not millions of likes and comments. And at that point, who knows? I can get a deal myself. Does that mean that I'm going to develop as an artist? No, it just means that I'm going to cash in on the microwave amount of time that I have allotted for myself to sort of ride this trendy wave that I've been able to tap into. So, the internet is determining what music gets made, not
Right.
the artists themselves.
Right.
And when the music is determining what music gets made and not the artists themselves, in my opinion, it leads to a degradation of the quality of the music itself.
Correct.
And I think it also leads to otherwise less talented individuals getting flooded into the marketplace to feed said beast. Whereas before, it was about what your talent can contribute to the music that gets made and how that will determine what the trends are going to be. So we've just seen a reverse 180 flip in terms of artist development to trends. Now what we're seeing is trends dictating everything, and pretty much as far as I can tell, artist development has been pretty much eradicated. And I'm not trying to slight. I know I sound like a get off my long guy right now, and that's okay. That's fine. I've accepted it. If I'm gonna get off my long guy, then that's fine. But I just find it very, frankly, incomprehensible honestly, to with a straight face try to tell me that, you know, and I'm gonna name some big names out there. And I know a
Hey,
lot of people.
go
I'm just saying, no, because I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there, and I don't care what anybody says.
ahead.
But I just don't see how, with a straight face, anyone can argue that, you know, the Drakes and the Meek Mills and throw now Drake and Meek Mill, that's fine, whatever. But then if you want to combine the Lil Babies and the Babies and 21 Savages and the Yeats and the Tyler Yahwehs and the Lil Pumps and the 6ix9ines, if you throw all that into a pot,
Yeah.
and you want to, with a straight face, tell me that compares to Jay-Z and Nas and Eminem and the Locks and DMX, Fab, Jadakiss, and all of that, Nelly, Ludacris, all of that, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. I don't think that it's comparable personally. I don't. And there are not enough, in my opinion, there are not enough. If I don't even like Drake, but if you want to put Drake in that category as someone who fits the bill, fine, I'll give you Drake. But there are not enough Drakes and J. Cole's and Kendrick's, Big Sean, Pusha T. There are not enough of these individuals to offset the rest of this filler that the marketplace is getting flooded with as a result of the internet and trends dictating what music gets made. So if you ask me, I agree with Nelly. That era was the toughest era, and I think it's primarily due to an emphasis on artist development.
Yeah, and artist development goes with the industrialization of the product. So in its initial phases, or let's say when it initially became like commercial, so 80s, 90s, late 80s, early 90s, there were guys that were, going hard, especially for those times. So growing up, my brothers, they liked I know one of my brothers, he liked LL. Like when LL first came out and he was rapping like that, it was snapping hard. You still play I'm Bad right now. That thing go crazy in the whip. So it does. So there's stuff in the 90s. So there's stuff in the early 90s which has definitely laid the foundation for flows and sampling and all kinds of stuff. So there's no hate here. But the thing is that the ball was rolling, and people picked it up and ran with it. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was a full-blown industry where people were ready, to go to the major leagues. And as you mentioned, once they hit these labels, whenever they got picked up or whatever, yeah, then they got thrown in the incubator for a year and a half. And so, yeah, and then they came out a finished product, ready to hit the market. So, yeah, without those business models, with all of that stuff going on, yeah, of course, it's definitely fall by the wayside. But yeah, no shade on the early 90s too. I know that. I'm just saying I gotta throw that out there. Because I know that people out there, trust me, hey man, Cool Mo D, like when I do my work and I'm listening to people, and then you listen to Cool Mo D's flow, and then you go, this guy was out of his mind. What made him want to do like that? And he had bars. I get it. So, but at the same time, I'm just saying per capita, there was more stuff going on. And so there was more competition. Hence, it was stiffer. Now, definitely we got to have some tear talk, Nelly. Because I understand, I understand you was in the game when they was in the game. But who was you really competing with amongst those names you named? Now, I ain't gonna lie. When it came to record sales,
That's how you
gonna get me.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I ain't talking about record sales.
See, yeah,
I'm talking about bars.
Yeah, he gonna hit you with them hits and them sales. Because because I think that's where he's coming from. I don't think he's necessarily trying to say that he's on par with those guys, like musically. But I think country, 5 times platinum, hard to argue that.
Sure.
Jay-Z's highest selling album ever was Hard Knock Life, which went 5 times platinum. So Nelly did that before. And Jay-Z, a lot of people, myself included, think he's the best ever. So like that's where he's gonna get you. It's like the LeBron. It's like the LeBron people who want to bring in numbers and stats and
Yeah.
all of that. It's the LeBron crowd. You're never gonna be able to refute the numbers. Like when when the LeBron people bring up points, rebounds, assists, triple doubles, and all time leading score, and all of those counting stats, you got nothing. You got me there if that's what we're talking about. So it's a similar thing. That's what Nelly's gonna say because his run was undeniable. His song, the singles, you can say what you want, but them songs that he was putting out between the Country Grammar album and the Nellyville, the dude was doing his thing. He was
Oh, no.
charting. We put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, he was He
Yeah.
was on the charts.
Exactly.
He was on the chart. But hey, man, nah, he had, you know what I'm saying, some cosign. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't chart without getting our help too. So, you know what I'm saying? So people was listening to it, but you know what I'm saying, when people wanted to, you know what I'm saying, getting their thing, go crazy in the whip, I wasn't grabbing for Nelly. Yeah,
me either. No different. It's no different than when we talk about greatest players ever and we want to bring in championships. No one's mentioning Robert Horry. Like, yeah, Robert Horry won 7 championships, but there's more that goes into that pot. It's an amalgamation. It's not just one thing over the other. So no one's talking about Robert Horry. Robert Horry got 7 championships. Nobody brings up Robert Horry when you use championships as a barometer for where somebody is as an all-time great.
I don't know, bro. You gotta be goated as something, bro. The best role player ever.
No, man. No. I know. Here's what you can goat Robert Horry as.
What's
the
that?
best free agent team selector of all time. That's what you can goat Robert up because he found himself on dynasties repeatedly. So that's where the Rockets, the Lakers, the Spurs. He just knew how to pick the right team. I think that's what you can goat him for. But I don't know, man. It's tough because you just go, it's just legend after legend. When you bring these names up, from even from like 99 to 2002 alone, you had Speaker Box Love Below, you had Nas Stillmatic, you had Eminem with the Eminem Show and the Slim Shady LP, Dr. Dre 2001, you had DMX, you had Jay-Z Blueprint, you had what else? Scarface, The Fix. You know what I'm saying? It was just so much classic stuff coming out during this period of time. And I know it's gonna be people in the comments who can name. I know I'm forgetting a lot. I'm going off the dome here, people. Give me a break. But my point is, it was just so much at this time that I really do kind of looked at it. I really do look at it personally, and I say objectively, it's better. Now, I understand this is a subjective topic and it's a matter of opinion. I get it. But I really do believe that the case can be made so strongly, it's almost an objective fact that this was like the era where you saw the most the volume of music being made at a quality level and the artist putting it out. In my opinion, I would say it was at its apex.
I agree.
So I hear where Nelly's coming from. I would have to agree.
I agree. 1,000. Hey, and by the way, tier talk, guys. So how do you guys feel? What do you feel? Based on your criteria, however you want to do sales, who was the better artist, however you want to be. But where does Nelly rank amongst that tier? Is he tier 1, tier 2, tier 3? Amongst the stiffest competition in that era. Me personally, just blindly, I'm just loosely throwing him in tier 3. I don't even know who else on the list, but he's in my tier 3. No shade.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just
he got Ashanti, bro. He don't care a damn thing I'm talking about.
Hey, man, listen, Nelly is winning, man. Because at the end of the day, like, you can go to any club right now, and if the DJ plays Nelly My Boo or Nelly Ride With Me, most people in the building are gonna know those songs. For sure. So like Nelly left an imprint, but I'm with you on the tier talk for sure. I'm with you on the tier talk. And we ain't even bring up stuff like Jadakiss, Kiss the Game Goodbye, and it's just so much. Fabulous, Ghetto Fabulous, Street Dreams. it's just a lot. There was a lot of good music being made during this time. You know, Ludacris back for the first time, word of mouth. It was just so much going on. It's really hard to contend with that. And I just don't think that the music being made today can compare.
You couldn't tell
Sorry
me.
to today's artists, but it's just not, it ain't the same. I
You
think
couldn't
we have
tell me.
passed the point of the pinnacle of it, and now it's
Mhm.
just kind of average.
I'm about to say, but you couldn't tell me that Ludacris wasn't the best rapper alive. I thought he was the best rapper alive. 2001, 2002. I thought I was like, this guy's out of his mind because he made me
Yeah.
laugh. He made me laugh too, and it was clever. I was like, now this is what the game's been missing. So yeah, man, shout out to Luda, man. Back for the first time. I know damn near all them songs front to back.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, Luda had bars, mad crazy bars, still
Mhm.
does. But back then, bro, the guy with the punchlines, it was insane. His punchline game was insane.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
Wayne 500 degrees, them hot boys out, I can keep going. I can go on and on and on. My point is there was just a seemingly limitless supply of quality stuff coming out during this period of time, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But shouts out to Nelly. Shouts out to Nelly, man. You doing
Yeah,
your
shout
thing,
out to
man.
Nelly, bro. I'm just
Yeah.
trolling, bro.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. And shouts out for putting that bun in Ashanti's oven too. That's what's up.
Oh, that's what we doing, bro. That's what we doing. I read it. Hey man, kudos.